Drake claimed that the only reason that Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us got as big as it did is because Universal Music Group and Spotify conspired against him. And to cover up its tracks, Universal Music allegedly fired employees that were associated with or perceived to have loyalty to Drake. According to court documents, Drake tried to talk to Universal Music, quote, to resolve the ongoing harm that he has suffered, but they wouldn't engage in negotiations.
Look, the lawsuit thing, I thought that was to make sure that that didn't happen.
Wait, you talking about the Drake lawsuit?
Yeah.
To make sure what didn't happen?
That song didn't come on.
For Super Bowl?
See, look, sue Apple, right? Sue Universal.
Right.
And then have your attorneys contact NFL corporate and say, look, we don't want you guys to involve yourself in this nasty lawsuit that's going on.
The year is now 2025. And no matter what, Drizzy Drake is very much alive, and that's all thanks to you.
Drake is pissed right now, and honestly, who wouldn't be? Kendrick Lamar just used the biggest stage in the world, the Super Bowl halftime show, to completely clown him. He didn't just throw shots, he made a whole moment out of it. He called Drake out, had the crowd chanting along, and even had Drake's ex, Serena Williams, looking like she was celebrating his downfall. And those bars? Disrespectful on another level. CH the only one to get your H down, party at party, playing with his nose now. That's a wild thing to put out there. And the way he flipped Certified Lover Boy? Straight up brutal. At this point, you gotta wonder, how much more can Drake take before he finally fires back? Kendrick just did Drake dirty, again. It's like he killed him, buried him, dug him up, and buried him all over again, but this time on the biggest stage in the world. And during one of the most watched events of the year? Pure disrespect. At this point, there's no way Drake can clap back with another diss track. He already tried that, and let's be real, it didn't work. So now, he's running straight to the courts, suing everybody in sight over Kendrick's diss. When the rap battle isn't going your way, guess the next move is calling the lawyers. Drake is so desperate now that he's even suing his own label, Universal Music Group, for pushing and profiting off a song he says is straight up disrespectful. But let's be real, nobody thinks this is just about clearing his name. Most people believe he was really trying to block Kendrick from performing Not Like Us at the Super Bowl. Well, that plan flopped. Kendrick still hit the stage, and now Drake is scrambling for his next move. Just hours before the performance, his team put out a statement, throwing more shots at Kendrick. But at this point, it's looking less like a comeback and more like pure damage control. Drake just took this to a whole new level. Now he's accusing Universal Music Group of making a mockery of victims and all this. Yeah, he really went there. But that's not even the craziest part. Word is, he's actually thinking about adding Kendrick to his lawsuit. But let's be real, does he even have a case, or is he just setting himself up for another L, this time in court? Meanwhile, Kendrick didn't just perform at the Super Bowl, he turned it into a full-blown funeral for Drake's career. His set was pure heat, track after track, making sure the whole world knew exactly who's on top. Kendrick didn't just put on a show, he made a statement. His Super Bowl set was packed with bangers from GNX along with some classics, but he also used the moment to call out the state of politics and social division in the US. And to really drive the message home, he brought in Samuel L. Jackson to play Uncle Sam himself. It's your Uncle Sam, and this is the great American game. Now, let's get into it. Yeah, watching Drake take an L is fun, but Kendrick's performance was about way more than that. And having Samuel L. Jackson as the voice behind it, that just took everything to another level. Samuel L. Jackson's voice came through loud and clear. It's your old Uncle Sam. Welcome to the great American game. At first, it might sound like he's talking about football, but let's be real, this was about something much bigger. Kendrick was calling out the system and the way oppression still plays out in America. When he said, too loud, too reckless, too ghetto, he was pointing out how Black culture is often judged and looked down on. And then came the rail shot. Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? That wasn't just a question, it was a challenge. A reminder that the system expects people to fall in line and play by its rules. But Kendrick? He wasn't having it. His whole performance was his answer, loud, unapologetic, and impossible to ignore. Be humble. Sit down. Stay quiet. Don't make too much noise. That's exactly how they want us to act, low-key, unseen, and unbothered. Then Samuel L. Jackson's voice cuts through again. You brought your homeboys with you, your old culture cheat code. That hit different. When we're surrounded by our people, we move stronger, we move smarter, we're unstoppable. And that's exactly what makes them uncomfortable. Then came the real gut punch. Scorekeeper, deduct 1 life. In this so-called game, losing doesn't just mean taking an L, it means losing everything. One wrong move, and it could all be over. And then, that's what America wants, nice and calm. Translation? They're only comfortable when we're silent, when we blend in, when we follow their rules. But Kendrick? He wasn't about to play along. Right on cue, he launched into Not Like Us, a statement, an anthem, a warning. It's a cultural divide. In other words, we come from 2 different worlds. We are not the same. Kendrick's performance was packed with hidden messages and deeper meaning, and honestly, that could be a whole conversation on its own. But let's get to the moment everybody was waiting for, Not Like Us. For weeks, rumors were flying that the NFL might ban him from performing it. Some people thought he'd play it safe. But Kendrick? He didn't just perform it, he made it a moment nobody would ever forget. Kendrick made it a whole spectacle. First, he played with the crowd, teasing the beat like he was about to drop Not Like Us, then stopped, just to clown Drake over the lawsuit. I want to perform y'all favorite song, but you know, they love to sue. That song? Maybe I'll think about it. The crowd went wild. And then, with the whole world watching, Kendrick went all in. No filters, no holding back. He had the entire stadium chanting lyrics about Drake's history with younger women, loud and clear. God watching, sometimes you gotta pop out and show. Certified boogeyman, I'm the one that upped the score, walking down. At that moment, it wasn't just a performance, it was a message. Kendrick didn't let up. He kept the pressure on, making sure everybody got the message. Whole time, I know he got something to say. I hear you like, M. Young, you better not ever go to. Drake did everything he could to shut this song down. Sneak disses, legal threats, whatever he could throw at it. But in the end, none of it worked. Kendrick made sure the entire Super Bowl crowd, millions watching at home, and probably Drake himself had to sit there and hear that stadium scream every single word. So how's Drake dealing with another public embarrassment? He's out in Australia on tour, trying his best to act unbothered. But let's be real, we all know this one hurts. But Drake also knows another diss track won't save him. He's already tried, and it didn't work. So now, he's changing the game and going after a new target, his own label, UMG. Since he couldn't stop Not Like Us from blowing up and getting played at the Super Bowl, it looks like he's trying to shift the blame and make the label the bad guy in all this. But here's the catch this time, it's not just about defamation. Drake is now calling UMG out for being hypocrites, saying they backed Kendrick's diss track while pretending to stand for something else. Drake is calling UMG out for being hypocrites, pushing a diss track that paints him as a predator while allegedly protecting real predators behind the scenes. And just to make sure everyone paid attention, his legal team dropped a statement blasting UMG just hours before Kendrick's halftime show. The statement said, UMG is acting like they support artistic freedom while calling all this just entertainment. But there's nothing entertaining about real-life victims. We're confident that the evidence we bring to trial will prove our case. Drake's team isn't holding back. They say the evidence they've gathered since filing the lawsuit will prove that UMG cares more about making money and paying their executives than protecting their own artists or telling the truth. As for UMG, they're staying quiet on this latest statement, at least for now. But when Drake sued them for defamation last month, they didn't just deny his claims, they straight up mocked him. They basically said he's just bitter because they let Not Like Us take over. UMG didn't just deny Drake's lawsuit, they threw it right back at him. They basically called him a hypocrite, pointing out that he had no problem when they promoted his diss tracks, but now that the tables have turned, he suddenly has an issue. In their statement, UMG's legal team said, Drake has built his career using UMG to drop music, call out other artists, and go back and forth in rap battles. But now, he's trying to use the legal system to silence another artist and blame UMG for doing exactly what they've always done: distribute music. UMG didn't just shut down Drake's lawsuit, they hit him with a reality check. They reminded him who put him in the position he's in today, basically telling him not to bite the hand that feeds him. Let's be real, UMG gave Drake the biggest record deal in history, let him run his own label under their umbrella, and pushed his music harder than almost anyone else. But now that he's coming for them, they're making one thing clear: they can just as easily take that support away. UMG made sure Drake knew exactly how much they've done for him, and that they could take it all away just as easily. In their statement, they said, "Not only are these claims false, but the idea that we'd try to hurt Drake's reputation makes no sense. We've invested heavily in his music, and our teams worldwide have worked for years to help him reach massive success." By now, you'd think Drake would just take the L, step back, and focus on a fresh start with new music. But looks like Aubrey still isn't backing down, despite all the embarrassment. Now, insiders say he's actually thinking about taking things even further by adding Kendrick and the NFL to his defamation lawsuit over Not Like Us being played at the Super Bowl. Sources say Drake's team is looking into whether the NFL can be held responsible for giving Kendrick the platform to perform a song he claims is based on false accusations. And apparently, Drake also wants to. Drake is even thinking about suing Kendrick personally for accusing him and his team of being predators. On one hand, it makes sense why he's upset. Thanks to Kendrick, even people who don't follow hip-hop now associate his name with those accusations. But at the same time, Drake has no one to blame but himself for how far this beef has gone. He had plenty of ways to respond without running to the courts. He could have flipped the script and called out the hypocrisy of. Drake could have tried flipping the script, calling out Kendrick for throwing accusations while still working with Dr. Dre and shouting out Kodak Black, who was charged with assault in 2019. But let's be real, Drake knew that wouldn't work because his own circle isn't exactly clean. One of his closest associates, Baka Not Nice, was arrested for forcing a young woman into sex work. So yeah, he doesn't have much moral ground to stand on. Drake's biggest mistake was thinking UMG would have his back against Kendrick. He walked into this battle like it was rigged in his favor, but clearly it wasn't. You'd think he would have learned from the Pusha T situation, but here we are again. Now, I want to hear from you. If Drake actually takes this lawsuit further and drags Kendrick and the NFL into it, is he just setting himself up for an even bigger L? And what do you think he should do to bounce back from all this? Drop your thoughts below, and don't miss the next video.